Okay, off to the races. Hello, friends. Greetings. It's your Chapo coming at you. As promised, we are no longer talking about things that are depressing and sad. We are talking about things that are fun and fail. And of course, I'm talking about our neighbors to the north. Oh, Canada. What could be lower stakes and funner to talk about than an upcoming Canadian election?
Fun for you, maybe.
We're safe here in the bosom of the United States of America. Safe from all political consequences. However, as you may have just heard, joining us for this episode is our official Chapo north of the border Canadian correspondent. It's Dan Boeckner back again. Dan, what's up?
Greetings. Hello, everyone. This is a bad time to live in Canada, I would say. That this election has fucked vibes. That's the only way I can describe it.
Well, we can blame Trudeau for that, right? Because they didn't have to hold one. If I'm looking at this correctly, right? Like this is a decision to try to get a majority because they figured that they could capitalize on people's resistance to the conservatives' vaccine plans or something like that. Is that correct?
Sort of. It's a weird combination of like hubris and unpreparedness. So they called this snap election thinking that they were going to get a majority, but it's basically, I think the best way to describe it is like a pop quiz that no one is prepared for, including the person who called it.
So real like Theresa May 2017 vibes here.
Yeah, like no one really seems to have a platform that addresses the fact that since the pandemic started, like shit has been getting real in Canada. There's been an intersecting group of crises, both domestic and international, that the federal government has kind of fumbled the ball on, and no one seems to have any good ideas how to move forward from.
Well, it seems like Canada is pretty much on the same page as America and the rest of the world. But why don't we just start by going through, so obviously Justin Trudeau is currently he's in charge of the place. Why don't we just start there with Justin Trudeau and his party, and what are they running on this election? What is our friend Justin up to?
They're basically running on a bunch of shit that they could have done when they got elected in 2019 and decided not to, and then they're just kind of trotting it out again and saying, "Hey, remember that?" Or actually, please don't remember that we promised that we were going to do all this stuff. Here's our platform.
So are they promising to do it we're going to get serious? We're going to do it this time?
Yeah. So top of the list is climate. They're basically claiming they're going to bring down emissions 40 to 50% below 2005 levels by 2030, net zero by 2050. Totally unclear how they're going to do this. Like the platform doesn't really give any information on how they're going to achieve it. They're just basically being like, trust us.
Well, I mean, they're Canadian, so I'm guessing it boils down to ask politely.
I guess. I mean, tree planting, maybe. I don't know. They're also like focusing on jobs because the economy's been so hammered by COVID. So, they basically said that the Liberal Party, like, quote, took on debt so Canadians wouldn't have to over the last year and a half, like putting billions of dollars into job loss, profit decline, all of this during COVID. But what they basically want to do is extend COVID benefits into the fall and and start a program to invest in tourism. This is pretty much...
I mean, good luck. Like people are afraid to go to the Six.
Yeah,
like the Six is all over the news. It's like I can't even compare it to Chicago 10 years ago. It's like I don't know. It's like it's honestly like Poland in 1939 with what Drake is doing to his enemies.
It's true.
Gangs of certified lover boys are taking people's girlfriends all over Ontario, and now it's spreading to Quebec.
Yeah, there are gangs in Toronto, but it does I would almost be kind of mad if I was in a Toronto gang because it's like everyone else who doesn't live in Canada, literally the entire world is just going to be like, oh, what? Like, do you guys fight over like Montclair jackets?
I mean, it doesn't help that
stand behind Drake.
It doesn't help that every other day the Toronto PD puts out pictures of guns they've taken from their street, and they're like fucking blunderbusses held together.
I love that shit. They're always capturing the gun that they used to kill Mel Gibson's son in The Patriot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They grabbed the spear of Longinus off the streets of Toronto.
Exactly. They're capturing guns used by the British to fight like in the Khyber Pass and everything.
I mean, those guns. I mean, honestly, the blunderbuss or like the British musket would be a higher caliber than some of this shit I see in the Toronto. They usually look. It's like usually what I see is like this was taken off the streets of the Six today, and it looks like a Derringer that had been at the bottom of the ocean for like 1,000 years.
They have like their guns like. You could like maybe use them to like fire a warning shot against like a rabbit.
50% chance it's going to take 2 of your fingers off, though.
All I know is I'm going to get a Spanish tercio together and just take over the drug trade in Toronto.
No, yeah, I'm moving up to Montreal and I'm taking over the drug game with one starter pistol that I got from a track and field meet.
Yeah, if you figured out how to put bullets in a magazine, you would basically own that town. You'd be king of Toronto, king of the GTA.
Actually, I probably could do that in Toronto, but not Montreal, because as we established last time, there's a lot of really serious criminals in Montreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them dress like clowns too, so it kind of throws you off. I was actually, just as an aside, last night I was trying to mix a song, and I heard this like fucking piercing, like really bad theremin music, like somebody very poorly playing a theremin at like stun volume coming from the street, and I was like, I can't mix this song. I gotta go see what this is. And I go downstairs, and there's a group of like 15 people underneath a giant octopus puppet that's just spewing bubbles, trundling down the street, blasting theremin music as part of like a cultural thing that was happening.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Trudeau. Good luck getting tourists to this hellhole, this terrifying land of arquebusiers and octopus creatures marching in the streets.
Yeah, no, Canada is BioShock.
Fuck. Well, yeah. I mean, the liberal platform it's pretty weak. Like, one of the things that jumped out to me was they've been talking about pharmacare, like adding pharmacare to their platform, but it is suspiciously absent this round. And what they have replaced it with is recommendations for something called telehealth, which to me is a giant fucking red flag. Like, and by telehealth, what they mean is in the more rural, remote communities in Canada, instead of going to see the one family doctor, you will log on to Zoom.
I don't think that's worked for like anybody. I don't think anyone's ever gotten a good diagnosis from like Zoom doctors. I did that early in the pandemic. I was having I didn't know if I was having ulcers or not. And like, it was like being on a Zoom call with me. I hated it. He was like on his phone and shit.
Oh, really?
He's playing like Candy Crush for doctors, where it's like pills instead of little
candies. He's playing Dr. Mario.
Yeah. I was like, it's like, I don't care how like good you are at being a doctor, you're just not going to do a good job on Zoom.
No.
And it's also like, yeah, you're not getting the benefit of going to a doctor, but then you have to do a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Fuck it, no one wants to do that shit. No one likes that. We had a Zoom Thanksgiving. It was the worst moment of my life. I'm going to relive it in the moments before I die, thinking about like what my cousin's internet sounded like, how I could hear her shit dialing into the grid. Do it with a doctor?
Yeah, as you're like,
unless he can like print out, like unless he can get into my printer, and no one has a printer anymore. They're making printers worse every year. Unless he can get into the printer and like print Quaaludes, no one's gonna do it.
Yeah, I just imagine like lifting my shirt up and like putting my armpit close to the lens and being like, "What? So what do you think this is? What is it?"
Yeah, I'm gonna put on a fucking VR headset and be in VR chat with my doctor, and he's gonna be Miles T. Prowler, and like that's how he's gonna feel my balls. I'm gonna feel my balls with a glove that gives him feedback sensation like a DualShock.
Yes. You're going to put the haptic feedback pouch around your junk.
Yeah. He makes the troll face when he feels the lump. That's how I found out I was dying.
I would get you. I was like, It's for like telehealth. Like I had a better diagnosis when I got like a pimple on my dick and ended up showing it to my dad, thinking I had AIDS, and he was just like, "Yeah, no, you don't have AIDS."
I also showed it to your dad. I was like, "Yo, I was fucking Will. Look at this. He's nasty. He needs some antimicrobial shit."
Oh man.
All right, so I mean, well, obviously, I mean, like, so the Trudeau and the Liberal Party. I mean, like, this is their. I mean, this is just Justin being Justin. You know, it's just like he talks a good game. About respecting other cultures and wearing their their costumes and skin color. But when it comes to respecting them, it's like, no, we're definitely still building that pipeline over your land.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And, like the biggest issue in this election is housing, because of the way Canada's housing market works with federally backed mortgages, it allows for housing prices to just go up and up and up while wages stay flat. And then the giant fucking all-consuming maw of debt gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And none of the parties, not even the NDP, have a coherent or serious plan to address this. Like, basically, and the other thing is that 20% of Canadian housing stock is owned by REITs, so real estate investment trusts, who own, finance, and sometimes operate commercial, like rental property. So it's bad, and the Liberals' plan is to essentially set up sort of housing. What they want to do is they want to get more people to own homes. So they want to make it easier for you to get a mortgage or a loan to buy a home, without kind of addressing the fact that the bar to home ownership is getting further and further away from normal people because the real estate market is completely fucking unregulated.
I mean, that is the one part of the Liberals' platform I do think is pretty good. Everything, whatever group of people we do a bad thing to, our leader will dress up like them.
Yeah,
as an apology. No one else in the world does that.
Maybe this is a slight aside, but I was wondering, has the issue of the recent discovery that every Catholic school in Canada is just a mass grave, is affecting in this election at all? Is anyone talking about this? Because I feel like that went away pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're not talking.
After they discovered the fucking Temple of Doom underneath every Catholic orphanage in Canada.
They're not talking about it nearly as much as you think they would be. The Liberal Party is making some sort of gestures to reparations, while they're still blocking residential school survivors in court, at the same time. So again, it's just impossible to take them seriously.
Well, I mean, as a result of that, I mean, it seems like Trudeau is being pushed to the limit and could very well lose this election to the Conservative Party, led by a guy called Aaron O'Toole.
Yes.
I'm still pissed it's not Mr. Wonderful. That was my hope.
What bad thing did Mr. Wonderful ever do to anybody?
Well, I mean, he can't speak French.
Yeah, that was it.
He can't speak French. That's it.
That's the only
He can kill
bad
as
thing
many
he's ever
people as he
done.
wants with his boat, but you gotta
That's
fucking
right.
speak French.
You ever thought that person was Jay swimming?
So I mean, so let's talk about the Conservative Party and Aaron O'Toole. As far as sort of conservative Canadians go, could you describe to our American listeners who is Aaron O'Toole and what does his Conservative Party look like?
Aaron O'Toole is kind of we have a lot of these guys here. I think Jason Kenney is one of them. A lot of the conservative pundits are kind of this type of guy, and they're if you could imagine a wizard cast a curse on a giant batch of bread and created bread golems but didn't bake them long enough. None of them have belly buttons, They're just fucking vat grown weird doughy ghouls. So yeah, the Conservative Party here is constantly sort of ping-ponging between and we'll get into this later when we talk about the fucking Justin Lang article. But
Yeah.
But they're ping-ponging between, a copy of a copy of a copy of an American idea, which is reform conservatism, and just out and out, dog whistling white nationalism. So,
well, I mean, it seems like you could be two kinds of conservative in Canada. You can be the kind of the sort of Stephen Harper, sort of very, very dry, just eating crackers with no water.
Yes.
Just very dry, kind of like buttoned up dork. Or you can be like the kind of bellowing, crack smoking populist like the Ford family or Mr. Wonderful. I mean, he's not smoking crack; he's getting high off deals.
He's totally high off deals. Yeah. And like Harper's only thrill is flying to Albania once a year to go to Ashraf 3, where MEK people just clap and goggle at him as he talks about how they're going to invade Iran.
Not without our help,
it would be
buddy.
lonely to be like an Iran regime change person in Canada. Because
Yeah.
it's like, obviously, like if you're like a, pro right sector person, you're still probably for that, but that's not your main thing. That's not really your main issue. Like in Canada, everyone's involved in the Ukraine business.
Yeah, it's unavoidable.
Well, yeah, I mean, you brought up this Justin Ling column, and like Justin Ling is a guy who writes for Maclean's in Canada. I mean, Dan, I know you've had your run-ins with Justin in the past. I mean, like, just as preface to this article, how would you describe Justin Ling and his output as a opinion journo in Canada?
He's like he's got goldfish brain or golden retriever brain. Like he was a Vice columnist, and then he had a podcast on the Canada Land Network that was described as the Chapo Trap House of Canada, but it was just him and another sort of golden retriever brain centrist pundit named Jen Gerson. And the idea was that they have opposing viewpoints. It was called Oppo, but they basically agree on pretty much everything. So the concept kind of fell apart.
Well, I mean, he has this article in Maclean's titled "Aaron O'Toole, Socialist Crusader." The policies put forth by the conservatives are serious, sensible, and pro-worker. They're also impressive when put next to the anemic NDP platform. And he's talking about, like, I mean, as to the Conservative Party platform that he's talking about and that would, earn Irish Aaron the title of Socialist Crusader, is that he's talking about basically like a kind of like a workplace democracy platform is what he describes it as, where they would require federally regulated employers with more than 1,000 employees to have worker representation on their board of directors, provide tax breaks to employers who sell shares to employee ownership trusts, and amend the Canada Labor Code to give workers a leg up when trying to unionize shops in companies with a history of anti-union activity, and give labor unions standing at the Canada International Trade Tribunal to file action against companies. So, I mean, this is like, Ling says that this is an idea that originated in Scandinavia and has become popular in France and Germany and another bunch of countries. And he says, on paper, right, this sounds like a pretty good idea, right?
Sure, except the only problem is that's not really what the Conservative Party platform on labor is.
No way. He says here, it's just these two levers of employee ownership of corporations are fairly radical in North America. In fact, getting more workers on boards was a core policy plank from erstwhile Democratic presidential hopeful Elizabeth Warren. While the ideas of corporate ownership trust was pitched by her rival Bernie Sanders, Vox called it his most socialist idea yet.
Fuck. This column was like I think the third of 3 columns that came out basically saying exactly the same thing from exactly the same type of person. So it was like Gershon, Ling, and this guy Max Fawcett, who is like a sort of photocopy of Justin Ling. And they all seemed dazzled by this platform, and the hook in the articles was, can you believe it? The conservatives are doing socialist things. But then, like, if you dig into it a little bit, you realize that there's actually a historical precedent for this, and this has all been kind of laid out in centrist Canadian media, like no less than 2 years ago. Globe and Mail ran a piece on Jason Kenney, who's the premier of Alberta, adopting. So I'll just read from this. It says, Alberta Premier Jason Kenney believes the future of conservatism lies in parties like the Canadian Tories moving away from promoting laissez-faire capitalism and embracing the growing reform conservative movement in the U.S., which sees a role for government in addressing the challenges of working class people who have failed to get ahead. So basically, the conservatives have been working this platform that they cribbed from, like, what was that book that came out in 2008? Ross Douthat and Rehan Salam.
Oh yeah,
Grand New Party.
New Party, yeah.
Yeah. So this like quote unquote socialist project is just like it's like a watered down Canadianized version of something that Ross and Rayhan Salam came up with in 2008.
And that never got anywhere in the actual Republican Party because there's no actual incentives to do that. It's literally branding operation.
Exactly.
The next 10 years of conservative politics in North America are people telling you that national conservatism is coming, and you never see any evidence of it.
Yep.
But it's always coming. It's always just around the corner.
It never happens, and it's always just supplanted by an even crazier and crazier wave of now Q adjacent shit, But the funniest thing about Ling calling the conservative platform socialist on the labor plank is that the conservatives approach to gig workers is a carbon copy of Uber's flexible work plus, which is the ideology behind Prop 22, right? It's the idea that you will create a third category of worker. And the reason for that is that the main architect of this conservative platform is Dan Mater, who is a corporate lobbyist for Uber, who O'Toole hired back at the start of the year.
Well, yeah, let's dig into the gig workers thing, because Ling says here, he says, these workers, generally speaking, don't have any of the benefits we associate with employment. If they want supplementary health insurance, employment insurance, Canadian pension plan benefits, they'll have to pay for it all themselves. The Conservatives are proposing a rather elegant solution, an employee savings account. Gig economy companies would have to pay contributions.
Oh my God. Wait, is this Lenin I'm hearing from? What the hell?
It says gig economy companies would have to pay contributions equivalent to CPP and EI premiums into their gig worker accounts, where it will sit tax-free to be withdrawn when needed.
Coronism's back.
He says it's hardly a replacement for a good pension plan or an actual safety net. Without employee contributions and considering the hours worked by these employees, these funds will likely be quite modest. And
you can end the sentence there. End it there. Period.
And yet, it's more than the other parties are proposing. And he says here, so it says Aaron O'Toole, social democrat. It seems unlikely that the measures outlined above will start peeling off New Democrat voters or convince the Marxist-Leninists and communists to put aside their differences to get behind Aaron O'Toole. And yet, these policies are serious, sensible, pro-worker, and decidedly conservative in purpose. They look particularly impressive when put next to the anemic New Democrat platform, which is verbose yet shallow when it comes to the tough realities facing many workers in precarious jobs across the country.
Oh, is it Justin? How the fuck would you know?
This article is bad. I've never heard an idea from Justin Ling, or even a sentence where I wasn't this guy's stupid. But he is right about one thing, and it's the factionalism in the left movement, where it's people are saying Albertan third worldists, they're not real communists. Marxist Leninists are not getting behind Aaron O'Toole either. That is really annoying me. That is the
BC
main problem.
Are not supporting.
Well, yeah. He's the Conservatives are cribbing from Elizabeth Warren, which should give you a pretty good idea about how seriously they want to reform capitalism. They're let's just get a couple guys from the shop floor on a corporate board, and then they can be voted down 99-1 every time.
I think this article in particular, and then what he posted after he posted this article, he posted the two guys locking hands meme, and it was just conservatives on one side, communists on the other, and hating the article in the middle. And I think this Ling article just illustrates this rot at the center of Canadian media, where these people have kind of decided that a way to feel good about yourself is to think if I'm pissing everyone to the right and left of me off, then I am correct and I am doing a good job.
That is a virus that is it's spreading rapidly in this country as well.
That's why R. Kelly should be president.
No, it's this idea that if everybody calls me an asshole and is making fun of me, then I must be onto something. Yeah, there must be something. It's just my ideas are so powerful and correct that all the usual suspects, and by usual suspects I mean literally everybody, is teeing off on this.
Yeah, exactly. Another good Ling hit from a couple days earlier was, the Conservatives put out their platform on Twitter, and they posted this. They posted, Canada's recovery plan will secure the future for you, your children, and your grandchildren, which was 14 words long. And Ling and his compatriots went off on a tear being like, it says our children. It doesn't say white children. But it's like, okay, yeah, probably Aaron O'Toole wasn't sitting down being like, let's just do the 14 words. It was probably like a staffer. But that's worth talking about, I think, in media when we're rolling into an election. But this class of media pundit has decided, no, it's not worth talking about. It's our children. It's not white children, so it's fine. Let's just move on.
Just one more hit from this Ling article. He says, only real policy wonks picked up on a particularly radical proposal from O'Toole's platform. The conservatives are pitching a super EI that would temporarily provide more generous benefits to employees in a recession, 75% of their previous salary as opposed to the 55% status quo. But wait, that's not the radical part. In determining when a province falls into a recession, O'Toole would use the SOM rule, a thus far relatively obscure definition of recession that tracks unemployment, not GDP growth. We currently consider ourselves to be in a recession when the whole country sees a contraction in its GDP over 2 consecutive quarters. O'Toole, for the purposes of EI anyway, would consider a province or territory to be in recession if the unemployment rate rises by a 0.5 percentage point over a quarter. The SOM rule, to this point, has largely been used for analysis, not policymaking. Nevertheless, Claudia Somm, who came up with it, was giddy to see it in the conservative platform. I jump for joy, Somm wrote in a recent blog post. Yes, of course, it's cool to see my SOM rule in a platform. What really makes me happy is that the unemployment rate, not politics, would decide when the unemployed get extra financial support.
Okay.
So it's a big up to Claudia Somm and her wonderful rule. It's a
Mind of Claudia Somm.
These are the radical pro-worker policies of the Conservative Party. But he says at the end, the liberals, like their job just got a whole lot harder. And I guess in the sense that if the Conservatives can pretend to come in here and support workers being put on corporate boards or raising unemployment insurance, or some meager provisions for gig workers in the form of some sort of tax-free savings account that's administered by the companies that employ these gig workers as contractors. This goes back to essentially Trudeau and the Liberals' problem is what the fuck are they offering?
Nothing. Yeah, that's it. And if your party has hired an Uber lobbyist to help craft your platform on labor, then you should not be taken seriously. The end. That's it.
So how is O'Toole and the Conservatives how are they campaigning against Trudeau and the Liberals? What has been the tenor of this campaign as far as have they been attacking them hard, or they've just been hey, we have a positive vision for the future of Canada that we will secure for our precious grandchildren?
No, they haven't been attacking super hard. The whole thing has been, I would say, kind of like a low energy, people slipping on banana peels every day. It seems like the most damage that's being done to the parties is being done internally by themselves. 3 days ago when the Green Party candidate accidentally endorsed the Liberals' environmental platform on television. That was a gaffe, I guess. But the conservative platform's interesting in that you can feel the fucking radioactive glow from the Silicon Valley people that they have brought in to help them craft the vision of the future. But one thing that stuck out to me is their celebrating Canadian heritage portion of the platform. So it says many of our monuments and cultural landmarks are in a state of disrepair. That's why the Conservative Party will finish the Victims of Communism Memorial. Something that the Liberal Party is already doing. So there's a little across the aisle where you can see that solidarity extend to all of our foreign policy. There's fundamentally no difference really in any of the parties.
We will make sure that victims of communism sit on corporate boards.
Yes.
We'll make sure that there is at least one victim of communism on every corporate board in Canada.
Every telecom CEO needs to also join the Vitasian Rend.
Well, I mean, those are the two main parties, but this is Canada, not America. So we got some other parties running for office here. This is like a 4 or 5 way race. So what about the New Democratic Party?
The New Democratic Party, their platform is, and again with the housing thing, like I think housing is like far and away the most pressing issue domestically in this election, and their plan is just pretty vague. It's basically 500,000 affordable housing units.
5,000, 500,000.
500,000 affordable housing units, but I kind of feel like the words affordable housing need to be thrown to the bottom of the ocean. Because
what counts as affordable is really elastic, shall we say? I mean, like right here in New York City, like every time that like the city uses money to build the Barclays Center, they're like, oh well, we're only doing it if you build like X amount of affordable middle income housing units, but like that affordable is determined by the median income of the zip code that the houses are built in, which in Brooklyn is like over $100,000. It's like $70,000 or $80,000 a year. Like that's the that is where the rent is supposed to be affordable at if you're making around $80,000 a year.
Yeah. It's a fundamentally unserious proposal. Their proposal. It's like 500,000 affordable housing units, and then they will stop big money investors from driving up costs, whatever that means. Like
they'll ask them politely once again.
Yeah. Well, and last week you could kind of see where the NDP's head was at with this part of the platform, in that one of their candidates from Ottawa was posting about this plank, right? Like about their approach to housing, how they're going to solve the housing crisis. And a Twitter account called the Ottawa Small Landlord Association pushed back at them and said, wait a minute, what about us small landlords? And this NDP candidate immediately folded and was like, no, we love landlords. My parents are landlords.
Mom and pop landlords, and pop housing providers is what we're calling them now.
I actually looked this association
artisanal small batch landlords.
Yeah, exactly. I looked this association up, and it is just one guy.
Yeah, that's a really small landlord.
Yeah.
He's renting out a dollhouse. He's so small.
And this one guy, has like a YouTube channel where he posts shit like how to evict tenants during COVID. It's like an hour-long instructional video. So like, the candidate just bending over for this account like immediately is sort of indicative of I think how serious they are.
I love Canada's like ostensibly left parties because it's like you have two anti-Deutsch parties.
Yes.
And the guy standing for the New Democratic Party is Jagmeet Singh.
Jagmeet Singh. Yep, that's right.
Now, Jagmeet, like from what I can tell, seems like as a person, like a pretty cool, normal dude. But like the weak tea that he's continues to pour out is like, I noticed this. Our friend of the show and Chapo FYM affiliate, Aaron, who is also a leading commander in the Wexit Brigade.
Left Wexit.
Yeah, he wants hard left Wexit now, and we support him. But the thing he pointed out about Jagmeet and like his sort of like on the stump on the campaign is that him and the NDP party, they have this weird thing where they like condemn the malefactors of great wealth, as FDR said, but they'll say it in a way that he keeps using the phrase ultra wealthy, the ultra rich, and he says wealthy billionaires, as opposed to just sort of the struggling to make ends meet billionaires. It's this weird way of sort of just sort of like softening the blow here, because like a lot of their voters are rich people too, so They don't want it's the way rich people don't want to think of themselves as the ultra rich. It's like, oh no, it's the ultra wealthy billionaires that are the problem, and not just the sort of humble mom and pop 100 millionaires.
Yeah, it's like Bobby Axe Axelrod versus that bald guy.
Yeah, I mean the other thing about the NDP is that there is a provincial NDP government in British Columbia where I grew up that is currently presiding over like the worst opiate crisis in Canada. Last week, these stats came out. Basically, the leading cause of death for men, I think it's aged 26 to 40 in British Columbia, is drug poisoning. And they're also overseeing like one of the biggest mass arrests for civil disobedience in this country's history at Fairy Creek, which is like an old growth logging site. So, there's video of RCMP with the thin blue line badges, fucking macing land defenders. And this is all happening under an NDP government. So it's really hard to take the federal NDP seriously when they talk about like socially democratic change. It's difficult for them to get their message across while this is going on.
All right. Well, then let's talk about the other party, the PPC. Who are the PPC? And then there's one PPC candidate in particular that I would like to talk about because I think he represents a platform that I think all men of stern morality and good conscience can stand proudly behind. Yeah. But like, what is the PPC party and what's their deal? Oh,
the People's Party of Canada. So it's Maxime Bernier's party, and they are basically like, they're like a Tea Party, QAnon, just right wing psychos. Like, I'll just go through their platform right now very quickly. PCP or PCP.
PCP.
I wish it was the fucking
party.
PCP party. I would vote PCP party. Definitely. Like denim jackets with the sleeves cut off for everyone. Beard mandates, vision quests. The PPC party platform is point number 1, end all multicultural funding. All of it. Just it's over. We don't need to talk about race anymore. It's done. Second point, limit immigration. Fire the chief public health officer and replace her with someone who is, quote, not connected to the WHO. Repeal hate laws and drop out of the Paris Accord. And there one point that I do agree with, which is defund the CBC. CBC has got to go.
Well, there is one candidate in particular. This is a headline from a wonderful Canadian news outlet, the Post Millennial. It says here, PPC candidate calls himself a, quote, semen retention soldier and claims he can breathe into his testicles. Chris, can we just cue up that video here? I mean, I'm just like, listeners will be able to hear the semen retention and testicle breathing method. But we will now see People's Party candidate for St. John Rosse showing off his game-changing testicular breathing message.
We should really put this part behind a paywall.
All right, here we go.
Is that? Am I hearing his balls?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, no air is leaving anywhere around his skull. It's all coming in and out of the balls.
Okay, for listeners, you just heard testicular breathing, but what I saw is a bald man with a beard and a nose ring rocking back and forth and breathing very heavily through his nose.
That's no. I mean, like, yeah, half of it. Half of his breaths were like going in and out of his nose. Guess where the other half is going? This is the real article Justin Ling should have written about like the link between leftists and conservatives.
100%.
This guy's the real unity candidate.
That's right. Nakula Das.
The guy's Nakula Das, and I'm just looking at this post-millennial article about the semen retention warrior, and right at the beginning of the article, they have an update, they have a correction appended to it that says, a previous version of this said that Piera claimed to be able to breathe through his testicles. That was incorrect. Piera actually claims to be able to breathe into his testicles.
That's right.
I mean, like, it's easy to make fun of this, but like, Dan, you brought up how like tainted drugs are like, in some places they're like the leading cause of death for young men. You know what the leading cause of death in every other part of Canada is? Sperm jacking.
That's right.
And that's like with telehealth, there's going to be more of that.
Exactly. I want to read you guys just a brief blurb from his Instagram on the value of semen, just so we know where he's coming from. You know, so the vital energy, the semen that supports your life, which shines in your sparkling eyes, which beams in your shining cheeks, is a great treasure for you. 1 drop of semen is manufactured through 40 drops of blood. Your glow and your vibrance and your contentment is dependent on saving your essence.
I mean,
it's the most inspiring thing I've heard, from anyone, any platform.
Some freaking solutions, okay?
Yeah.
The rest of these guys just talk. This guy has an actual plan of action for the people of Canada. Breathe through your balls and don't come.
That's right.
And and Canada has this sort of unfair stereotype that everything up there is so dull. Well, it's because you aren't glowing enough. And if
because
everyone
everybody's
just stops
jacking
nutting,
off all the time.
Yeah, everyone's recklessly spilling their seed everywhere. 40 drops of blood went into that, and you're just spraying it into a towel.
The most
low
the
energy.
The most violent man in Canada is the man who obtains the least semen, Drake. Why do you think he's doing all that stuff?
It just says here, federal candidate for the People's Party of Canada, Nicholas Piera, also known as Nakula Das, does not masturbate. In fact, the New Brunswick candidate not only does not masturbate, but he also has become well-versed in the obscure art of what he calls testicle breathing. The self-described semen retention soldier claims to have an endless supply of energy that he uses to spread the knowledge of sexual alchemy all over the world.
Yes.
Okay, so now there's some instructions here. This is also from his Instagram. This is testicle breathing. So there's some instructions here on how to do this in case anyone wants to glow and retain limitless real energy. Breathe deeply into your balls, imagining your testicles expanding like lungs. When you exhale, imagine your testicles deflating like your lungs would. Most men never breathe into their balls consciously. This simple practice can be used to simulate your hashtag sex energy and begin to rotate it around the microcosmic orbit. All right, gentlemen, everyone here on mic here, we are all testicle havers. I've never tried to breathe into my testicles, but just if you would just join me here for a second, let's see if we can channel.
Right.
Let's see if we can retain our glowing essence by breathing in, not through our balls. I mean that's ridiculous. I mean,
yeah. My dog is looking at me, and I have performance anxiety right now.
Yeah, because you took away his ability to do this.
Yeah, yeah. He knows what you'd just be taunting him.
Yeah, you're eating in front of a starving prisoner. You're doing math in front of a Polish person. That's what this is like.
All right. Okay. So maybe I'll just do it. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna breathe in and just I'm imagining my balls inflating.
All right.
And as I breathe out, I'm imagining them. Okay. I mean, just on first blush here, it felt a lot like just breathing.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't. No.
But I did imagine my balls getting bigger, and as I inhaled, I sort of felt like maybe they did get bigger.
I'm imagining them playing Scotland the Brave.
So I'm going to tell you guys what I saw. My balls blew up to the size and shape of a bouncy castle, and all my dead relatives were playing on it. They started to guide me through my life.
Now, of course, because, this is way more interesting than, the super EI or whatever the fuck Justin Ling was talking about. So,
yeah.
Of
Canadian DARPA. That was another,
yeah.
Literally a program in the conservative platform. We are going to do Canadian DARPA in the now bombed out downtown Calgary. They're going to build a fucking Gundam.
Figure out how to make actual bacon.
Ava would suck so much if it took place in Calgary.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine? That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, totally.
So I did a little more research on my own from tantricacademy.com about testicle breathing. It says here, when a man is unaroused, the energy in the testicles is in the cold yin state. Okay. Testicle breathing guides this cold energy from the testicles up the spine and into the head. Here it stimulates and activates the pineal and pituitary glands. Dr. Joe Dispenza has researched ancient yogic knowledge. This is what he said about these kinds of exercises. When we inhale through our nose and at the same time squeeze our intrinsic muscles, we accelerate the cerebrospinal fluid into the brain. As we follow the movement of energy to the top of the head, then hold our breath and squeeze, we are increasing intrathecal pressure. The increased pressure moves the cerebrospinal fluid from the fourth ventricle through a small canal in the third ventricle. At the same time, fluid travels around the cerebellum, compresses the crystals of the pineal gland. So, I mean, shit, like if you want to open up that third eye, I mean, like the pineal gland is the gateway to, other realities, other dimensions, and they all flow through your balls.
That's why Jewish people get circumcised. Like, we made up some shit about how, like, God told us to, but really it just, like, it's like putting a spoiler on the rear of your car. Increases airflow.
Oh, wait, it says here, testicle breathing only works if you have not ejaculated for 30 days. So, well, I'll check back here in a month.
Fuck, I was with this, but now this is like Obamacare all over again. I went to the Semen website and I already have to not be coming. Like it's like early evening. I've done it 4 times.
Another failed platform in Canadian politics. It's a fucking desert.
Is there any like candidate or like anything that like you can look at, and I'm not going to say it gives you comprehensive hope, but you're like, oh, that's like pretty good. I don't mind that.
The Communist Party of Canada, Canada's oldest political party, and the only party with, in my opinion, like a serious platform, like fundamentally serious. Everything else, I feel like, is totally unserious, especially considering like all of these sort of interlocking crises that are happening right now, due to COVID.
So I'm just looking at the bottom here of the benefits of testicle breathing, and one of the benefits is removes sexual frustration, tension, and stress. And it's just like, well, yeah, jacking off does that too. Mm-hmm. And jacking off is something anyone can do.
Yeah, but this is like the antibody cocktail versus the vaccine. Like if you you can do that by jacking off, but that's like 5, 6, 7 times a day, and it's like, who has time for that? Like, yeah, you could definitely keep getting COVID and take the antibody cocktail or like ivermectin or whatever, but that's the whole thing. Just get the shot, like do ball breathing.
I'm gonna do opposition research on Nikula Das by just hanging around his house and trying to catch him jacking off.
Just have a sort of counter protest outside his house with just hot babes.
I would love
car wash.
I would love that if it was like how the CIA trying to delegitimize Castro. Like they just like you guys, like the Mounties just think he's the greatest threat to the ongoing order. And it's like, oh, we're gonna make it so his TV only shows GoDaddy ads.
All right, well,
Disarono ads from the
oh my god, that Disarono ad
so fucking hot. That's the reason I can't start that like retention
shout out Molly.
Thing. Yeah, damn.
Shout out Queen Molly for that poll.
Disarono's warm and sensual taste makes you wish it would never end.
I mean, that commercial is from the mid 2000s, and it was like, I totally forgotten about both Disarono as a liquor and that ad, but it is the funniest thing I've ever. I mean, the look on the bartender's face at the end after that woman mouths the ice cube is just like he's doing a proto Nicholson nod.
They're just horny for a low ABV sugary ass drink.
It was too much. Like this, they banned it. They banned horniness at that point.
Yeah, after Obama, like, okay, so it used to be if you wanted to advertise a product, it was like, this is like, you are going to have sex on the spot when you use this product. And like, ever since Obama, that's not been a thing.
I mean, Obama replaced horniness with ball breathing.
Yeah,
we've been relieving sexual tension and energy, not through GoDaddy commercials or Disarono liquor. We're doing it by recalibrating our pineal glands through semen retention and ball breathing.
I haven't seen any GoDaddy commercials recently, but I bet it's like, it's like a guy on a yarmulke, like skateboarding, and it's like, GoDaddy's where you express yourself. And it's like, no, GoDaddy's where I jack off. It's the only site for porno on the internet.
The only downside of electing Das is that he will immediately declare a fatwa on the Lady M&M and all images of the Lady M&M.
The green M&M is any depiction of the green M&M is now haram.
Disarono, pass the pleasure around.
All right. Well, to close things out today, I've got a special Canadian reading series from a guy who I think I think he has earned the title of the basically Toronto's John Cass. I'm talking about the legendary scrawler Joe Warmington. Joe Warmington is a Toronto Sun columnist, and yeah, he is basically kind of the Canadian version of John Cass. And this column is titled. By the way, this column I had to find on the this is available on the Internet Archive Wayback Machine because it was taken down by the Toronto Sun for reasons that will become apparent as I read it. But this is Joe Warmington. We seem to applaud gang culture.
Uh-oh.
He writes here, get within 2 meters, the city calls you selfish and dangerous. Say the following on live TV, like former Coach's Corner host Don Cherry, and you lose your job and are branded a racist. Quote, you people love our way of life. You love our milk and honey. At least you can pay a couple bucks for a poppy. That's what Chris talking about when Don Cherry was getting mad about people not wearing the poppy.
Oh, that was a big deal up here. Yeah. So angry.
People obviously in Canada do not go as crazy at the poppies as the Brits do. Right?
No,
like it's
I'd say like there's a specific type of columnist that wants us to go that crazy.
Is there there isn't even like a Canadian Gallipoli or anything, right? Like they didn't get as owned as the other Commonwealth powers did during that.
There's about to be, once I get this thumb drive with the old anarchist cookbook in it to Alberta, you're going to see Gallipoli times 10 pussies. Let us secede.
Yeah, the battle for Edmonton.
yeah. Dude, me and Aaron raising the flag.
So it says here, So if you say if you go on TV as Don Cherry and tell people to wear the damn poppy, you lose your job. But if you rap, got hosed and I'm keeping in the dark. I got my across the street living large, thinking back to the fact that they dead. And you're an ambassador for the NBA champion Toronto Raptors.
Oh boy,
things are backward. Toronto is still reeling from the brazen daylight slaying of 21-year-old rapper Houdini. A 15-year-old boy and a 27-year-old woman were also struck. If only 3 people shot in broad daylight in Toronto's entertainment district struck as much a nerve as the pandemic picnickers did in Trinity Bellwoods Park. Other than to say it makes him very angry that a few people take a safe city and turn it into a situation like this, Mayor John Tory has been quiet. But on the cherry blossoms, he closed down Hyde Park. On people getting too close to walking their dogs, he introduced $1,000 tickets. One too many congregating at the park, he scolded people like criminals. Now bringing in his George Orwell-style circles to kettle people while gangsters shoot and kill as part of a culture that comes with a soundtrack of racist, misogynistic, and violent tracks. Even Houdini foreshadowed his future in his hit songs. Cherry lost his career over next to nothing, while Drake isolates in his Bridle Path mansion, bragging about his new lake-sized pool. Houdini is dead. If he'd committed a social distancing violation, perhaps someone would have intervened. Now, this is obviously all an assault on Drake and the fact that he is, a sort of a global ambassador for Toronto and the Toronto lifestyle. Mm-hmm. This column was taken down by the Toronto Sun, though, because the lines that he attributes to Drake, which are, once again, got hosed and I'm keeping in the dark. I got my across the street living large, thinking back to the fact that they dead. Drake never... This not a
Drake he thinks Drake is like drilling shit. Like no, Drake doesn't think that. Like this is insane. Like the story of Houdini is insane. It's an insane story, and there is a lot of insane like Toronto gang stories. It's not like really like it hasn't gotten quite as crazy as like Chicago or Jacksonville or anything, but like it is very darkly funny to pin this on Drake.
Yeah.
The idea that like all these gangs started because they saw Drake in 2014, like singing about like red messages and being like, oh, I have to like kill everyone. I want to be just like him, so I'm going to start a gang.
He's hooked an entire generation of Canadian youth on taking half a Xanax during an international flight.
Yeah, it's like this is like saying like that the gangs in Chicago started because of Kool in the Gang. That's where Larry Hoover got the idea.
So, yeah, and then I was just going through Joe Warmington's archives, and he has done about 30 columns in the Toronto Sun over the past 2 weeks, referring to the what he refers to as the Terps in Afghanistan being left behind, and by that I mean he means
Trans-exclusionary, radical
perfusionists.
Yeah.
Perfusionists.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
okay. Damn, that's what Lovell believes? Damn. First J.K. Rowling, now him?
No, the Terps, of course, are the interpreters, and like I said, I mean, like that's what Warmington's columns. Like I said, like for a reading series, that was really quick. It was like basically 2 paragraphs, but I mean, he just scrawler. He just fucking churns these things out, man.
He's a content fountain.
He's not like John Cass, where John Cass, it's like, well, like got up this morning and, peed in 3 streams as always. One of them's black. It's been that way for the last year. A bird came in and like made a cry that sort of sounded like the word fat. There were 7 dead rats leading to my doorstep. My wife hid the maple syrup. There's not a lot of expository writing with the scrawler.
Yeah, no, there's. I mean, like that's the thing. Like, he is kind of the Toronto John Cass in that he is just like he's like, Don Cherry can't go on TV and tell immigrants to go home, but Drake can talk about running through the 6, doing littering. Get it out of here. Things are backwards. But he because I mean it's like kind of sums up the difference in Canada and America. It's just he doesn't have the same instinct to share details from his own personal life, which makes it, I mean maybe he's not the Canadian John Cass because like you gotta have that anguish. You have to have that personal.
Yeah, you have to be
sort of, like,
miserable.
existential fucking pain in everything, and then he's just kind of he's just a guy shaking his fist.
This is why I like Donda better than CLB. Like, yeah, CLB is like not bad, but it's like, man, this isn't human. Donda's human. John Cass is human. John Cass is like, I want to kill myself to eat sausage.
So I guess we're coming here to the only reasonable conclusion: Canadians are not human.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, no, there's a reason the entire world consumes American art, but like there are only a few things that make it out of Canada, and they're genius products. It's Drake. It's Trailer Park Boys. It's nothing else.
You can't think of any more. Kids in the Hall.
Nothing.
Yeah. Cronenberg. Yeah.
No. There is a lot of good Canadian shit, but it doesn't like, Americans. We put our shit out there in the world, and we turn people. We like bite them on the arm, and they become like everyone becomes a little bit of American. No one's becoming Canadian.
It's true. The Canadians just become American.
Exactly.
Well, you have to if you want to get anything out.
I mean, to close out the I think the final really the final nail in the coffin of America's dominance over Canada. We just talked about how Drake, is Canada's biggest cultural export. He's making an impact on the world. He showed everyone about the 6, but who has now displaced him as the world's foremost owl guy? That's right. Me, Will Menaker.
Oh man, yeah.
That OVO shit is over. As soon as I'm out there with a great Eurasian eagle owl on my wrist, the open step, wind in my hair, Drake, it's over for him. It's over for OVO. Will Menaker is the reign of the owl. The court of the owls begins now.
Did you look directly into its eyes?
Yep.
What did you see?
It's not so much what I saw, but what was taken from me, which is my soul. But it's being guarded. It's being like my soul is in a safe place now. It's in the owls.
An owl is like for your soul. An owl is like those little things in airports and bars where you can charge your phone.
It's like Aaron O'Toole's employee savings account.
Yes. Yes. Your soul grows.
For your soul.
Imagine 1.8% compounded interest on your soul every year. By the time you retire, you have 2 souls.
No, I mean, I my soul is currently it's with the owls now. I mean, they have it. I expect they're going to take good care of it. I mean, it's in their possession. But in exchange for that, through semen retention, I will be greatly crystallizing my pineal gland. So whatever I lose in sort of soul loss, I will make up for in warrior-like real energy that comes from never nutting.
That's why the doctor feels your balls. Like doctors they all work for the deep state. Mm-hmm. A lump in your balls means that there's crystal forming, and chemotherapy destroys that And what do they all? Everyone knows it. Everyone's had a relative that's gone through chemotherapy. What do they always tell chemo patients? You have to jack off 4 times a day. That's what the MRI is doing. The MRI is like a big fleshlight you go into.
They're trying to prevent the great third eye awakening.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we went on this falconry excursion with our friends from New Mexico, and one of the things our friend told me was that in New Mexico, of course, owls are there's a lot of sort of like indigenous folklore and mythology about owls, that they basically like they are the guardians or conduits for the souls of the dead. And a lot of that, like the main reason is because owls are the only bird that can look you directly in the eyes.
I would be so fucking mad if my guardian, the guardian of my soul after I died, like flew into a window. I feel like such a fucking asshole.
Or a jet engine.
Yeah, it would be like when you get to your terminal and your flight gets canceled. Your soul's just standing around there like, well, okay. I guess I can go to Soul Cinnabon.
Your soul's tasty half sandwich at the bottom of the dumpster crawled in and then got trapped in there and died.
Yeah. Well, I was supposed to like go to the land of the dead, but my soul like got run over. My soul escort got run over, and now I'm going to the Soul Brookstone to read a Soul John Grisham book.
You're stuck at the Soul Hudson News for the rest of eternity.
That's not so bad. You can get soda there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of the books are just Killing Yourself by Bill O'Reilly. in the Hudson News Purgatory. All right, well, let's we should wrap it up there for today. I'd like to once again thank Dan Boeckner for joining us on this the road to the northern lands.
Thank you for having me on.
And if you haven't already, please check out your podcast, The Bottleman.
Yeah, Bottleman Podcast, 2 episodes a week. And if you like the music, I have a music Patreon as well.
We will have links to both of them in the show description. Dan Boeckner, always a joy and a pleasure, sir. And good luck with everything up in Canada. I hope the election turns out well.
We'll see.